Welcome to the Instant Pot. It cooks everything perfectly and twice as fast. Well, maybe. Welcome to Help at Home, your resource for great recipes and easy learning. I'm Jim Hightower. Well, it finally happened. I got an Instant Pot a couple of months ago for Christmas. I had some Amazon gift cards and that knocked the price down to about 40 bucks, and so yay me. On the front, you have all your smart programs that they're pre-programmed settings for, I don't know, soups and beef and yogurt. All kinds of fun. And then there's also a manual cook button, which most people just use that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take the lid off, and inside you have a cooking pot, not unlike a slow cooker or a crock pot, but this is a pressure cooker. Don't be confused that it's not, because it could burn a hole right through you if you're stupid. What's the tip here? Don't be stupid. Sometimes you have to say that. Alright, across the top here, and I don't know, my B cam may be able to see that, there's a little hole, and that's where residual steam comes into this little bitty overflow cup. And it's handy because it captures any little extra that might come out. It just snaps right on there. Of course, your plug, removable, goes right there. And I had to get an extension cord because the plug on this is fairly short. And you shouldn't use an extension cord unless you have a heavy gauge extension cord. That's a safety tip. But you won't be showing this to your family, so you'll have it on your counter. Okay, it lights up. And when you take your lid off, it makes a little sound. And vice versa when you put it back on. You need to see what in the South we'd call the innards. Inside you have this plastic gasket, or not plastic, it's rubber, and it goes all around this metal ring here. Now, with mine, I got 2 of the rubber gaskets, and they are essential to making the seal in your Instant Pots, so you got to make sure you have them. And some people take them off and wash them separately, or even soak them in bleach after each use. I'm not doing that, no, and you shouldn't either. What you can do is put a little Dawn dish soap in there, fill it up with water, and then you can slide it around. Right now it's kind of snug, but when it's full of water and soap, you can slide it around, and that does it really good. The tip is wash it right after you use it, so the smells don't get stuck in your lid and your gasket. The next thing is you have this little float valve that has a silver button on top, and if you look, see, when it is steaming and has made a seal, it will pop up, and you'll know that's when you don't be stupid. You don't touch it, you don't let kids around it, you don't do anything, just like you wouldn't walk in front of a lawnmower if it was self-propelled. Okay, next, this is your steam release, or where the steam would be, and you can take that off, you can wash that, it's no big deal. When I first got this, I was afraid to take things apart, but you realize it's just kind of a part of life if you need to straighten them up, or clean them off, and it just pops right back on. This is the steam release. It pushes this up and lets all the steam go out at once, quite forcefully, I might add. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. But this model, which is the Instant Pot Duo Nova, it has an automatic steam release and reset when you put the lid back on. See, I've pushed this down, and I'm going to show you. Watch this, because when I put it back on, it just popped. And so, it's up and closed and ready to go. Some of the earlier models had the steam release valve here hooked onto this, and it was just kind of a flippy thing. And this is an improved version. If you have an earlier one, it'll work fine, but that's just one of those things. You want to make sure that it's closed when you're ready to cook, and open if you're letting the steam out safely. But that's how it is. Or you can release it manually there. Let's talk about this float valve. When I got my Instant Pot, I got a defective float valve. Yes, I did. And my good buddy Chris Hope was telling me, you know, this is how it works, this is how it should sound, and it wasn't doing that. So, I had to turn around and get some replacement little bitty plastic gaskets. And, see, when you replace it, here's that float valve, here's your little plastic gasket. It's kind of hard to see there. But my gasket had just a little bit worn off, and it would seal about 75%, but it was steaming somewhat the whole time. So rather than send this back, I just got some replacement little gaskets. It snaps on. So that's your first tip. If your pot's steaming, you probably have a problem, especially if you've just started cooking. Next, you have this cover here. Try a paper towel. There you go. Took a paper towel. Anyway, this is your big steam valve on top with the thing there. And if you clean your top after you cook, you can take this off. Don't be afraid. It just pops right back on. And that's your lid. It's very simple. But remember, without your plastic gasket, your big one up here, you're not going to seal and it won't work. If you need the little gaskets, I think it was 8 pieces for about $6. And why not have some extras? In your box comes this nice little chart. And it tells, you know, it gives examples. For example, if you're cooking a pork butt roast, 15 minutes per pound. If you're cooking corn on the cob, cook it for 1 to 2 minutes. So it's interesting, and then you can have your own trial and error. You need to do what's called the initial water test. So, before we start, I want you to see on the outside here, it says PC max 2/3 and then 1/2. And you can see the reflection there. You can see the reflection in there. The PC stands for pressure cooking. You should never fill this up more than 2/3 full if you're going to pressure cook something. Now, you're saying, well, Jim, this is a pressure cooker. It is, but you're not always pressure cooking. Sometimes you might just be boiling or letting something cook low, like yogurt. But that's another day. For your initial water test, you need 3 cups of water. Put your lid on. And again, if you have one of those earlier models, make sure that your steam vent is closed, but ours is automatic. Now, what you do is, there is a button down here that says pressure cook, and you set it for 5 minutes. And then you have these little plus and minus buttons that you can adjust the time with. After about 10 seconds, it'll beep and start warming up. Now, while it is warming up, let me tell you, Instant Pot is not instant. It's a 2-gasp video. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not instant. It has to heat up. And then once it heats up the liquid that you put in, then it starts steaming and boiling a little, and your silver button up here, the float valve, will pop up, and it's pressurized for your cooking. That can take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. If you've got it 2/3 full of liquid, you know, think about how long it takes to heat something on the stove. But once it heats the liquid, and not even 5 minutes, because some things use 1 cup of liquid, so just a couple of minutes. Long story short, just letting you know, it's not one of those throw it in there and 2 minutes later it's done. Lord, what could be easier? I'm crazy. Maybe that's why you watch. Anyway, we'll come back in just a couple of minutes and I'll tell you how long it's taken for it to heat up. There's a little bit of steam coming up. And there is your float valve with the silver button sticking up. No more steam. Okay, so as you saw, the float valve, the silver button popped up. There is no more steam. You can hear maybe a little bit of boiling or pressurizing. And on front, it says the 5 minutes. P up on top for pressurized or pressure cooking, and it'll count down. It also has a keep warm button there, and unless you turn it off when you start cooking, then it will continue to keep your food warm and count up how many minutes it's been warming it until you turn it off. So that's something else to know. So 5 minutes and then we'll wait. Counting down the 4 more minutes of the 5-minute cooking water test. You may have caught just a couple of those last beeps letting you know that it's done. It beeps about 8 to 10 times, so you know. Then it'll say warm, and it's counting up how long you let it go. Now let's talk about safety again. You got to be safe, and sometimes it's not just the kids that need to be safe, it's definitely the adults. The day I got this and was doing my first water test, who should come up and bump against it and go, oh! Well, an adult family member who doesn't live in my house, and that's all I'm going to say. But it went, and it could have burned somebody really bad. So you see the pictures on the internet, you know, you can get hurt, but not if you follow the directions. You wouldn't stick your finger into the food processor, you know. Just be smart. Now, we're down to releasing the steam. You can push the steam release valve and let it go instantly. It'll be forceful, it'll go shh, and or you can do what's called natural release and just let it sit here for 20 minutes or so until it naturally releases all of the pressure. You'll know the pressure is gone when the silver button goes down. Again, I don't know You may or may not be able to see it. I'm going to change positions because steam's going to come out here, and I'm going to be smart enough not to be right here, face. Now, when you're using this, you'd be in front of it like this, and it's at your counter, and if you're doing the quick release, here's all you do. You just push it, and there you go. You just push it, and there you go. And see, that float valve, the silver button is still up, so you got to wait till it goes down to know that it's depressurized and safe to open the lid. You hear that little pop? That was the float valve going down. It's depressurized. Oh, my water is perfectly cooked. Just kidding. But that's pretty much how you use it when you cook. You either pick the manual setting of pressure cook, or you can pick from one of the others. You've got meat, beans, chili, poultry. You can even slow cook. Soup, rice, multigrain, porridge. I know you're all going to be making the porridge. Steam, yogurt, and the manual pressure cook. You can also have either the high or the low pressure. There's a Sauté button which essentially turns this into a pan like it's on the burner. You even have a low, medium, and high. And we're going to be cooking some pulled pork at one point. And you can brown your pork and then set it to cook, and it's just wonderful. It's a one-stop pot. Either way. Now, I realize I have not even begun to hit on all the things that you can do with the Instant Pot, but I just want to make sure you know that if you follow the directions in your booklets, and even as, YouTube channels like mine and others and friends tell you, you'll be okay. Just safety is key, and that's all you have to know. Well, if you don't have an Instant Pot, but you want to be able to follow along as we start to cook some more in the Instant Pot, you've got time to get one. If you've got any initial questions, you can always put it in the comments below, or you can send me an email. All that's in my description, and I'll try to get back with you. If you like this bonus video, which is just a simple introduction to the Instant Pot, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and share with your friends who like to cook or just want to learn how. Drop me a line in the comments below about your experiences with Instant Pots, or any questions that you have and what else you might like to see in the kitchen. Click the bell in the top right hand corner for notifications. I'm Jim Hightower, and remember, everyone needs help, even me. Be safe and be well. Welcome to Help at Home. Well, after a few months, I finally got I need to be right back. Subscribe and share with your friends who like to cook or just want to learn how. Give me a if you like this bleh.